Yo, what's up, y'all? 29 is finally here. 29 is finally here. Um, this is a lot. It's I don't really like. I think like now, um, all I did today was I just went out to eat. Got some breakfast. But I guess like I'm so locked into what I'm doing right now that um I guess it's kind of like time out for celebrations. Um, I do appreciate it, but I'm really focused on you know the, changing and transforming my life, um, and it's not out of eagerness, but it's just out of just a belief in myself. Um, because sometimes people want to just do things out of urgency, and they just want to do it just cause, and it's like I really love um, just creating, in all facets, whether it's music, um, whether it's art, video games, all of these things. Like, I love storylines, I love stories, um, and I just want to be able to create for a living. And, I feel like I've given up just a lot of, my lifestyle and, having fun and not always trying to go everywhere. Like, I've given up so much because what I want to achieve, um, shout out to my shirt. The shirt is pretty hard, I'm not gonna lie. Um, but what I want to achieve is bigger than anything, um, any party, any concert, any of that. And I think it's gonna really take just giving up just so much of just not just dwelling in stuff that doesn't matter, in terms of my life. And so, um, I'm so glad. Okay, I'm so glad that you know I learned a lot. Going through 28. It was the first time I actually had like a really corporate Fortune 500 type job, but I realized as I was going through it that it wasn't on the trajectory of where I want my life to be. So it was like we're going split ways. Because I just want to be a creative. I want to do that for a living, and I think like that's just the best suited for my life because I know who I am, and I know what I want to become, and in all of this grand scheme of things, if you ever want to become successful, like there's a little bit of selfishness that you have to take on, and some people might really make you feel bad for it. Some people might make you feel like you're crazy for doing these things, but you're not. You have to choose yourself first. Even when you love yourself, it's a bit selfish. You got to choose yourself over anything. Um, you know, but that's why like it's just so important um, to really stay just locked in, and whether you believe in God or not, like you really gotta just stay faithful to just a higher power, and believe in that there's something that's really caring for you, regardless. Being 29, man, after going out with my family today, um, I don't want to say I don't feel any different, but I guess because I've been preparing myself for this moment, for the past 2-3 months, that it's not necessarily like, oh, I feel like, you know, um, I just want to keep continuing and really just make a push and do something that I never done, being 29. Like, I don't really follow, like, one thing being 28 taught me was, like, I don't really follow age. Like, I don't follow the year by year age. Like, I'm not like at 22 I need to be here by 25. Like, I think age is just in a sense, it's just a way to kind of like know where we are in life, but it's not what defines us. You know, age doesn't define us. It just keeps us on track. Like, you know, just like how like time isn't necessarily real. Like, it's just, it helps us keep everything in order. You know what I mean? Like, if it's 1:52, like, you know, you got to be somewhere by 2 o'clock. Like, it's all, but in the grand scheme of it, like, it's all just um it's an illusion in a sense, you know, because time is just time. I don't want to go deep too into that because it's a whole nother conversation. But it is, to me, I just think that this is just a real way of just really just being focused this year, man. And I told myself, like, you know, it's if you stay the course, if you stay just focused on what you're doing in life, you're gonna make things happen. You're gonna make things shape, you know. And I just thank God for just keeping me really, like, really balanced, and really focused on making sure that I'm on top of my game every day. And you know, there are ups and downs with anything, but always strategizing and always trying to up my game in every facet. It doesn't necessarily mean action, but just maybe reading on something, maybe just informing myself by looking at stuff. Like, I'm just so locked in, man, that I don't look at other things other than just what I'm trying to do. I don't partake in any other conversations beside what I do, because if you get into that, you get so lost into that stuff. You get lost into other people's lives by gossiping. But then it's because it's about what's going on in your life. Like, because you could talk about other people's lives till you're blue in the face. Some people do it as a living, right? And there's no knock on that. But most people don't make money from talking about people. They just, you know, engage into the gossip. And I don't want that to be who I am and define who I am, and engage in just minuscule conversations on a public platform, you know, where you can not only offend that person, but the person that cares for them, like their family. So it's like, you gotta just be mindful of all those things. And you know, I think, I'm not saying I'm perfect. I'm not saying like it'll never cross that way if I was to have reached a level of success, or I can't control the future, and I'm not gonna say, oh, I'm gonna be this perfect person. Like, nah, like, you know, anybody has his own battles in life, and you know, sometimes makes the wrong decisions. So but I think personally, like, you know, this is just a very focused year for me. Like, I can't not let up this year. You know, a lot of times in my past, I would start something, but then like try and restart it, or try and, you know, try and do just all sorts of things, but not like each and every day not work towards it. So it's like, I was so worried about figuring things out and trying to accomplish things more than actually doing. And you know, that's a gift and a curse. You know, when you're so stuck into your mind and you're so stuck into wanting to do these things, you get lost in it and you end up not doing anything at all, which is a decision itself too. So it's all about what you decide to do, what you partake in, um, and your image. You know, people don't care about that. Like, people will be successful at the expense of their image, you know. And you know, to me, I have a lot of integrity about myself, and you know, understand that, you know, my talent is very good, but it's not everything, you know. And It's gonna really take just more than um, just sitting at a desk or just trying to make new songs. And I think as I figure those things out, as I get closer and closer, things are gonna open up for me. But you gotta have faith. But you also gotta have work. Faith without works is dead. You know, and but you need both of the two. You gotta have a really strong dream. Not just faith, but a dream about what you want to be, where you want to be. But then you gotta start aligning it with everyday things. What can I do in this house? What can I do? When I'm in the studio to make me get closer and closer to that outcome. And it's those in-betweens, those moments, these in-between moments of, whether it's recording, whether it's editing, whether it's engineering, like those moments have to be just so vital, because you can talk about being successful all you want. You can talk about doing all these things all you want, but it's until you start aligning it. And what I've realized too, is that no matter how high you reach, no level, no matter which level you reach, everybody's going to try and have their hands in it, and it's on you to create that vision. Even if you might have a executive producer for a album, anything. Like for me, like an album or a song, like somebody might be the one that's really, but you still got to put your imprints on it, and that's me. I want to just always have my imprints into my music videos, and just kind of create a sound around it, and hopefully one day it just makes all the difference. But I can't say like I feel ill, I feel so different. Like I can't really say that. Like it might be because I'm focused, or it just might be just because I'm just tired of trying to hype myself up to do something. So only thing that I really think about too is like my brother died at 29, and I really want to take advantage of this 29, because it was just a really hard year once he died, because it just really made me go into just a huge reflection. And so I really want to use this 29 to be a big difference in my life, and hopefully things start to turn, and but we can only do it with intent and action. So it's all about strategizing. And so Chat Pack, I appreciate y'all. We got so much more in store. I really didn't want to just do too much for the birthday, because it's like we know what we got to do. We know what we got to do, and there's not too much reflecting, because we're in that zone of creating and achieving. Maybe next year might be that, I don't know. But this year is just so locked in, and so we're going to make that change. And, for those that, are going through that same struggles, really, really identify who you really are. Because not everybody's made to do music, right? Not everybody's made to be the songwriter. Not everybody's made to be the podcaster. Nope. Dig deep into who you are. And if you might have to make the change, make the change. But, for me, I think this is really all aligned with me. I just got to put in the work, okay? So I appreciate y'all for signing on and just checking in with me for my birthday. This is just a special day, and I just really appreciate y'all. I always try to take advantage of this day and just really utilize all the time that I can, because once July 2nd, 2025 is going, there's no July 2nd, 2025 part 2. It's all within this 24 hours. Then you go to the next year, okay? So thank y'all. More on the way. We got might do a stream today. I don't know. Who knows? But thank y'all. More on the way. Let's do this. Let's make the jump this year. Let's make the jump, y'all. All right, y'all. Peace.